Officials are on alert this morning after the first cases of measles have now been confirmed in Wisconsin. 9 cases reported in Oconto County on Saturday. That's according to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Health officials say the 9 people likely got infected after traveling out of state. So here's what you need to know to keep yourself safe from measles. Symptoms can include fatigue and loss of appetite, as well as developing a cold or fever up to 104 degrees. Other symptoms can be a rash, diarrhea, pneumonia. Health experts say people most at risk are those who haven't gotten the vaccine, as well as people with medical conditions.
The other group of people who are pretty susceptible are those whose immune systems are weak. So think of people in cancer treatment, they're on chemotherapy, their immune systems are knocked down. They take medications to reduce their immune system so it doesn't attack that organ. Unfortunately, that makes them very susceptible to infections, measles being one of them.
If you or your child are not vaccinated against measles, doctors do recommend you get the shot. Symptoms can develop anywhere from 6 to 21 days after being exposed to the measles virus. Vaccination rates in Wisconsin are concerning officials here. According to the CDC, Wisconsin is ranked as one of the 3 lowest states in the U.S. for kindergarten measles vaccination rates. Just under 85% of all kindergartners are fully vaccinated. The CDC says that falls below the 93 to 95% needed to obtain herd immunity. And it's not just Wisconsin reporting measles cases. At least 29 different outbreaks of 3 cases or more have been reported across the United States. That's according to the latest data from the CDC. More than 1,300 cases have also been confirmed across 40 states. Those numbers were from July 29th, with an updated total expected to be released tomorrow afternoon. Kindergarten measles vaccinations, as we've been talking about, have also been on a decline. 4% of kindergartners have had an exemption for a required vaccination last school year.